Hello everyone, my name is Mohinder Ramnarine and welcome to another exciting lesson while we help you get prepared for SEA. In today's lesson, we'll be focusing on comprehension. In this lesson, I will be looking at poetry analysis. Over the years, poetry has proven to be one of the more difficult areas of the paper. In this lesson, I will show you how fun and exciting it can be to analyze a poem. Many students think that poetry is boring, wordy, and difficult to understand. But this is quite the opposite. Poetry is actually fun. It's a great way to express your feelings and emotions, and it can even be used to tell a story. Remember, questions on the poem contribute a total of 20 marks to the English language arts paper. Questions based on the poem would be at 3 different levels: literal, inferential, and evaluation appreciation. Vocabulary is also examined in context in the poetry section. For more information, visit www.moe.govt. For all the materials used in today's presentation, as well as the ELA specimen papers 1 and 2 and the English language arts specimen items for SEA, visit www.moe.govt as well as learn.moe.govt. Let's begin by looking at the 3 different types of questions that will be found in the poetry section. The first type of question would be the literal question. Literal questions ask students to recall information explicitly stated in the poem. These can be answered directly and explicitly from the poem. The second type of question would be the inferential questions. The answers to these are in the poem or text but are not explicitly stated. Connections need to be made in order to determine the answer. You can work out the answers by considering the hints and clues in the poem in light of your own knowledge and experience. And finally, we have the evaluation questions and the appreciation questions. For the evaluation questions, you must think about the poem and write your answers based on your assessment of the poem. Your answers must be linked to the poem and based on its details. Similarly, for the appreciation question, these allow you to provide an answer based on your emotional response and connection with the poem. These questions ask you, what do you appreciate or do not appreciate about the poem crafted? Let's begin today with our first objective. Our first objective deals with retrieving information that is stated explicitly in the poem. These would be your literal questions. Let's read a poem. As I lay upon my back, looking at the sky, watching soft white clouds passing by, some large, some quite small, many different shapes and sizes I recall. As I lay there and watched the clouds take shape, from my imagination a million images did escape. I could see anything that was in my mind's eye in those fluffy white clouds as they went floating by. For hours on end, no 2 images were ever the same as the clouds on their journey came. As if on film, this movie played, while quietly on my back I stayed. Music came to the movie that played in the sky by all the different birds, their songs a soothing lullaby. So beautifully orchestrated and done for me, that movie was crafted for me to see. I'm sure that you enjoyed that poem. Let's take a look at some literal questions. Remember, the answers to these are clearly stated in the poem. Examples of these would be, what was the poet doing? What did the poet see when he looked up? State 2 words used by the poet to describe the clouds. Name 1 animal mentioned in the poem. I'm sure you were able to figure those out already. Let's check. Our first question asks, what was the poet doing? Let's take a look at this question. The question asks us to consider what was the poet doing. The word doing, it's a verb, so we would go to our poem and look for verbs to help us figure out what the poet was doing. Where can I find this answer? Well, we can find the answer in the very first line of stanza 1. As I lay on my back, looking at the sky, watching soft white clouds passing by. I'm sure you would have guessed it already. The poet was lying on his back looking at the clouds. Let's take a look at our second question. What did the poet see when he looked up? To be able to answer this question, we need to check for the word see or synonyms that are contained in the poem. Where can I find the answer? Well, again, we can find the answer in lines 1 and 2 of stanza 1. As I lay on my back, looking at the sky, watching soft white clouds passing by. The words looking and watching are synonyms for the word see. These would indicate to us that we would find our answer to the question, what did the poet see when he looked up in this part of the poem? What did the poet see? Well, he saw clouds passing by. Let's take a look at our next question. This question asks us to state 2 words used by the poet to describe the clouds. Remember, the question only asks us for 2 words, and these words must be used to describe the clouds. You only need 2 words, and the word describes tells us that we are looking for words that are used to describe clouds. Clouds are nouns, so we are looking for adjectives. Let's go to our poem and look for our adjectives. As I lay on my back, looking at the sky, watching soft white clouds passing by, some large, some quite small, many different shapes and sizes I recall. As I lay there and watched the clouds take shape, from my imagination a million things did escape. I could see anything that was in my mind's eye in those fluffy white clouds as they went floating by. So let's look for words, for the words cloud or clouds, or words that refer to clouds in the poem. The word cloud and some refer to clouds. Now let's look for words that are used to describe the clouds. The words soft, white, large, small, fluffy, and white are all words that can be used to describe the clouds that were seen by the poet. In the rest of the poem, the word cloud is used. However, there are no more adjectives or describing words in these stanzas. Therefore, our answer to the question, state 2 words used by the poet to describe the clouds, would be any 2 from soft, white, fluffy, small, or large. These can be found in stanzas 1 and 2. Let's review. So far, we have learned that the answers to literal questions can be found right there in the text. Answer only what the question is asking. And finally, look for words in the question that signal where in the passage you can start searching for your answer. Stay tuned for lesson 2.